Whether you give praise to Stussy, Supreme, Mishka, or emerging brands and designers in your city, streetwear boutiques, the culture, and all who follow it has become a vital source to understanding and experiencing streetwear culture. The purpose of this presentation is to discover ways in which streetwear boutiques contribute to the literacy in youth culture. I focused on an interview participant who happens to be a co founder of Cretaceous Clothing, a streetwear brand that used to have a physical brick and mortar in the Elmwood area of Buffalo, New York. Although the store is online currently, I used an interview, photos from the previously standing store, and the online social media presence of the brand currently to explore and answer my research questions and sub questions. Now let's take a deeper look into how I use contemporary pop culture, specifically streetwear culture, to open the door to an interesting discussion in education reform. For my interview portion of my case study, I focused on the Seidman approach that put forth a three-stage method to interviewing, which included the following: a focused life history, details of experience, and a reflection on the meaning. Although I only had one participant in interview for my case study, I believe that this proved to be extremely beneficial because I was able to look more closely and critically at the participants' life experiences. Teachers, like parents, are meant to have a profound impact on students. So it was quite shocking when I read that the interviewee couldn't recall anyone that had a profound impact on their lives. Nevertheless, I took this as an opportunity to learn how a statement like this could be avoided by simply paying more attention to students and the cultures that influence them. Based off of the interview, I was able to define three key characteristics that can enhance the classroom culture if initiated and sustained simultaneously. In section 1, question 3, I came up with the first characteristic, which is community involvement in the classroom. I asked the participant to describe what a day was like in a community center that they visited, or a community or art center that they visited as a child. And the participant mentioned a skate park. And one of the things that I thought was particularly interesting is that they stated that a typical day was long but a lot of fun. In your average classroom, students spend the majority of their time in the classroom. So this characteristic of community involvement in the classroom is more so to kind of push together the cultures in the classroom and cultures in the community. My second characteristic is pop culture recognition. I asked the participant, what would you say is your greatest inspiration? And they responded that people who leave a profound impact on the world. Although the content that we traditionally learn in school is extremely important, what about some of the different artists that students follow, whether it's in music, in fashion, or on social media? Um, I think by understanding these people and their life experiences, you not only gain the attentions of the students, but you allow students to see themselves in this learning. Because a lot of students tend to identify with um, some of these very, very high profile people in pop culture. In my first mock interview with my participant, they mentioned that I believe Kanye West was a very influential person um, in their lives. And I think that we can stand to learn a lot from these people and their life experiences on how to reach students. The third characteristic that I defined was homework that's academic, socially, and politically driven. And I think This characteristic came from section 3, question 1. And I asked the participant, my interviewee, if you could give advice to a younger school age you, what would you say? And to kind of shorten the response, he stated to do your homework and life in general, and don't be afraid to ask for guidance. Homework alongside with being in the classroom takes up a lot of a student's time. So I think a lot of times we focus on homework that's going to teach students academic lessons, but it's important for a student to be well rounded socially and politically as well, because academics is not going to be the only thing that students need to survive and function outside the classroom. So, to recap, the 3 characteristics that I was able to identify based off the interview was: 1, community involvement in the classroom; 2, pop culture recognition; and the third, making homework academically, socially, and politically driven. Considering that the physical brick and mortar store that my participant once previously owned is not standing and it's online, I decided to look for footage online that gave me more of a realistic insight as to how the physical culture of the store was made up. So I actually did Google and find a few videos covering an event called the Sunday Cypher, which was a local event that was started by my interviewee and amongst his other colleagues, in which different artists in Buffalo came together and they battle rapped inside the store. So as I looked at these videos, I kind of got an idea of what the physical culture was of the store when it was still standing in Buffalo. And one of the things that I noticed, that although this was a skating streetwear boutique, you saw many other different instances of pop culture. One of which was music. So I saw pictures and posters of Biggie, which is a very well-known musician in hip-hop culture. So one of the things that I wanted to address with my research question, or more so my sub question, was how could we learn something from the physical cultures of these stores? And one of the things that I think is highly important to know is that it's not necessarily about trying to put every instance of student culture or pop culture in the classroom, but to simply just recognize it. So one thing that I was able to see by looking at these videos that is that there wasn't necessarily an oversaturation of one particular type of culture. Aside from it being a clothing boutique, you saw different references. You saw fashion, you saw music, you saw art. And I think that is something that can be learned from your typical classroom on how to change the physical culture.